Marcus Aurelius was a ruler who held more real power in his hands than most leaders today could even dream of. The man commanded borders stretching thousands of miles, armies forged from the strongest legions in the world, and an economy that fueled the greatest empire on earth. While tyrants wasted their reigns chasing pleasures, Marcus carried the weight of millions with a calm that unsettled both allies and enemies. But here's the twist that flips the entire story upside down. If this emperor, this philosopher king, this icon of discipline and self-control, walked into today's world and held a modern credit card for the first time, he would be stepping into a financial system more complex, more deceptive, and more psychologically engineered than anything he faced in war. And the strangest truth of all is that the people who designed our modern economy weren't military commanders or philosophers. They were bankers, marketers, and policymakers who understood one thing better than ancient emperors ever could. The human mind can be conquered without ever drawing a sword. To understand why Marcus Aurelius, a man who mastered his impulses, would find our world so dangerous, we need to step back into the landscape that shaped him, a Rome, rising through wealth but rotting through desire. The empire Marcus inherited wasn't the Rome of legends. It was a Rome stretched thin across continents, dealing with plague outbreaks, corrupt senators, and border threats that tested even the strongest leadership. The economy was shifting. Luxuries from the east flooded markets. Wealthy elites competed to show off extravagance, and common citizens, inspired by the lifestyle of the rich, spent beyond their means, often turning to private lenders who charged interest rates that could swallow entire families. Even back then, the seeds of financial downfall were rooted in the same human behaviors we see today: wanting more than we can afford, seeking comfort instead of resilience, borrowing to live a life that isn't sustainable. Marcus didn't fight these problems with force, he fought them with philosophy. His writings reveal a man deeply aware that desire, when uncontrolled, is the enemy of stability. He saw how people chased pleasures that weakened their judgment. He noticed how wealth created dependency, and how dependency made citizens emotionally fragile. But the biggest financial trap of Rome was the belief that prosperity could grow forever without consequences. As trade expanded, so did the illusion of endless abundance. Emperors minted more coins without matching reserves. Soldiers demanded higher pay. Infrastructure crumbled faster than new projects could be built. And once Rome realized the cost of its ambition, the decline had already begun. This is where our story begins. Because if you trace the fall of Rome, step by step, its rising debt, its political distractions, its public entitlement, its financial bubbles, LLC, a pattern so disturbingly similar to our modern world that it almost feels like history is performing a rerun. The origins of Rome's financial weakness were subtle. Trade increased, and so did lifestyle expectations. The rise came quickly. Imports grew, markets boomed, and the wealthy lived like gods. But the breaking point came when Rome realized that growth built on desire is fragile. The economy faltered, inflation surged, coinage lost value. Armies were paid with money worth less each year. And once the financial foundation cracked, the entire empire trembled. Now shift to today, a system Marcus could not imagine, a world where money isn't metal or grain or land. It's digital entries, interest rates, revolving debt, and psychological triggers wrapped in sleek branding. Rome collapsed when inflation spiraled beyond control. Today, global debt has reached levels that make Roman inflation look like a small accounting mistake. Governments borrow trillions each year. Consumers swipe credit cards like they carry infinite balance, and central banks print currency without the restraint of physical limitations. The system works not because it's stable, but because people believe in it. Trust is the invisible currency holding everything together, and trust, as history shows, is the first thing to vanish when systems overextend. So, what happens if Marcus Aurelius walks into this world holding a credit card? He would be holding a tool that symbolizes the very struggle he wrote about, a tool that offers convenience in exchange for future obligation, a tool that encourages spending before thinking, an object that silently rewires the mind, teaching people to prioritize impulse over discipline. He would instantly recognize this as a test disguised as freedom. Behind every swipe lies interest. Behind every reward lies a behavioral hook, and behind every limit lies a trap designed to keep people revolving debt rather than escaping it. Ancient Rome had lenders, but today's system has statistics. data tracking, psychological manipulation, and profit models engineered to maximize emotional spending. To understand the scale of this shift, consider the numbers. The average modern consumer carries multiple credit lines, owes thousands in interest, and spends more on lifestyle-based purchases than essentials. More than half of adults in many countries live paycheck to paycheck, not because they lack income, but because the system encourages spending beyond necessity. It's the same weakness Rome fell into, confusing desire with need and growth with sustainability. Marcus would recognize all of it, and he would see how it echoes the collapse of the empire he fought so hard to protect. Let's trace the cause and effect journey that connects ancient Rome to our modern financial chaos. The origins were moral and philosophical, a shift from discipline to indulgence. The rise came through increased trade, modernization, and global networks that expanded wealth faster than wisdom. The breaking point strikes when growth becomes dependent on debt rather than productivity. The fallout appears when inflation outpaces income, and the failed fixes, they always look the same: printing more money, offering more credit, expanding government programs without addressing underlying behavior. Rome tried versions of these solutions and fell deeper each time. Our world tries the same, expecting different results. But the scariest part is the repetition. History's loops aren't accidents, they're reflections of human nature. When societies grow wealthy, they anchor their identity in comfort. When comfort rises, discipline falls. When discipline falls, financial fragility rises. Marcus Aurelius spent his life fighting this on a personal level. But today, the battle isn't personal, it's engineered. Financial systems use reward cycles, notifications, variable interest, zero-down offers, and psychological cues mapped by behavioral experts. The battlefield shifted from the mind of the individual to the architecture of the system. At the heart of this chaos lies a fundamental paradox. People feel richer while becoming poorer. They feel freer while taking on more invisible chains. They feel more connected, yet more dependent than ever. If Marcus read the fine print of modern credit agreements, he would see a world where the cost of convenience is long-term vulnerability. A world where emotional spending is normalized and delayed gratification is treated like a relic of ancient philosophy. He would see how desire, the enemy he warned against, has been weaponized by marketing algorithms that know people better than they know themselves. This is not a story of ancient failure or modern corruption alone. It is a continuous thread weaving across centuries, reminding us that financial collapse doesn't begin with missing money, begins with missing clarity. Rome didn't fall because the system collapsed overnight. It fell because people stopped understanding the system they depended on. Today's world repeats this mistake. Few people know how money is created, how interest works, how inflation compounds, or how digital systems track spending behavior. Most people participate blindly, trusting that the system is designed for their benefit, not realizing they are the engine fueling profits for institutions. If Marcus Aurelius were handed a credit card, the first thing he would do is pause. Not because he fears debt, but because he understands the power of decisions made without awareness. He would study the system. He would ask, what does this convenience cost? What habits does it build? What future obligations does it create? And he would see what many fail to notice: the credit card is not a financial tool alone. It is a behavioral device shaped by the psychology of desire. It rewards impulsive decisions instantly and punishes long-term discipline quietly. In a world running on debt, the greatest danger is not the borrowing itself, it's the normalization of it. Modern economies need spending to survive. Companies need consumer purchases to grow. Banks need loan interest to profit. Governments need deficits to function. The machine only runs when people continue the cycle of spending without reflection. Marcus would see this clearly, recognizing how the machinery shapes behavior subtly, turning citizens into consumers and freedom into dependence. Yet, despite all these dangers, the modern world offers something Rome never had: awareness tools, access to knowledge, financial education, data that reveals patterns, technology that can liberate instead of trap if used with intention. Marcus would not reject the modern system. He would engage with it from a position of strength, using Stoic principles to differentiate between needs and illusions, between stability and temptation. There are three core takeaways buried within this entire journey that Marcus Aurelius himself would emphasize. First, the world will always present temptations, but your relationship with desire determines whether you control your finances or your finances control you. Second, systems built on debt are inherently unstable, and the only way to stay strong within them is to build personal discipline stronger than the system's temptations. And third, true wealth has always been the same across centuries: clarity of mind, control of impulses, and the ability to make decisions independent of external pressures. So here is the warning. The modern financial world is not collapsing yet, but the patterns are forming. Debt is rising globally at a pace never seen in history. Currencies fluctuate, while confidence disappears. Governments delay long-term solutions, and people continue to borrow without understanding the cost. Rome ignored these signs and paid the price. We have the advantage of hindsight, yet many repeat the same mistakes. The open question now is simple and haunting. Will we learn from the fall of one of history's greatest empires, or will we assume that modern systems are too big, too advanced, and too powerful to fail? If you want to understand the hidden forces shaping your money, your habits, and your future, this channel is your gateway. Stay connected, dive deeper, and discover the knowledge that ancient philosophers mastered long before financial systems became this complex. Your awareness is your greatest weapon. Use it before the system uses you.